What's up guys, it's Meg, and it's that time of the week again where we get to talk about the best show on television, AMC's The Walking Dead. Today we're discussing our review for Season 6, Episode 11, Knots Untie. We saw the Hilltop. Comic fans, can I get an amen? I'm sorry, that was really dumb. Oh my gosh, I was freaking out when we finally saw the Hilltop. I got the chills. Just seeing that scene brought to life from the comics is just one of those moments for me where I don't even have words. I'm speechless. It was so beautiful. All in all, this episode, you know, it was a little slower of an episode. They're traveling, they're going to the Hilltop, they're figuring out who Jesus is. But this episode is such a huge beginning for our group, and it's just so terrifying, to be quite honest, and comic fans will understand just how terrifying this episode is. Not that the actual episode was scary, there wasn't anything scary in it, but just this is like the start of something so big and so scary, and yet by the time we get through it all, which is probably going to be another couple seasons, it's going to be freaking amazing. I was so thrilled with the episode last night, and mainly because of all of the comic panels that were brought to life in the episode. It was a slow episode. It wasn't super exciting or anything, and I can see where maybe a non-comic fan would think, meh, whatever, but it blew my mind, really, just how close some of the scenes were to the actual comic. Okay, so we're doing a review. Just got home from work. It's kind of late. It's like 7 o'clock already, so sorry about my messy. If you can see any mess back there, I got a broom right there. Who loves Harry Potter? There's my broom. It's upside down. You guys didn't know I was such a nerd, did you? I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. Okay, sorry, this is The Walking Dead. Okay, my review. I don't even know where to start. So, throughout this entire episode, we see Abe, and the episode starts out with him and Sasha, and there's a conversation on the wall. It was the promo. You guys know what happened, but you know, basically they've been doing these patrols together, getting to know each other better for the last 2 months in the time jump here, and Sasha has decided to not do patrols with Abraham anymore. In my predictions video, which you can watch my predictions about Sasha's fate and Abraham and Sasha in my last Dead Ahead video for more explanation there, so I don't go into the long thing here. But throughout this episode, we see Abraham conflicted about Sasha and Rosita. And it's very subtle. They don't really talk about it too much, but you can see him observing. So in the beginning of the episode, he's talking to Sasha, and in reality, he's actually laying in bed with Rosita, and he has zoned out and is thinking about Sasha, and that was the image that we just saw of him and Sasha at the fence, okay? And he's thinking about Sasha, and then immediately he calls Rosita damn near perfection. You know, you can tell he has feelings for her, but while he's with her, he's thinking about Sasha. And there's this moment, which you guys saw, where Rosita had made him a necklace from the fuel truck. I thought it was super cute. I feel so bad for Rosita because I know exactly where this is going. But we see this necklace, and then throughout the episode, we see him observing Maggie and Glenn. And he has some funny conversations with Glenn, but he's observing their relationship. He makes mention of Rick and Michonne. He wants to know how long they've been, what did he say? It was a play on bumping uglies. Unking bumplies? Something like that. It was really funny. But he was contemplating their relationship, and he's thinking about Sasha and Rosita. Later in the episode, towards the end, when we see the scene where Rick killed, the what scene from the comics, I mean, it was really awesome. We see, I don't even know, I explained it so well in my reaction video. So if you guys are not understanding what I'm saying here, go look at my last reaction video for episode 11. In the reaction video during the commercials, I explain this whole Abraham realization there. So in that moment when he's being choked, he realizes that Sasha is who he wants to be with. Now, if you remember earlier in the episode, when he almost killed that member of Jesus's group. He thought he was a walker. They were in that house and he almost killed the guy. Later in the trailer, the guy is saying, in that moment where I thought I was going to die, I saw my wife clear as day. Now his wife had been dead. And he goes, you know, in my last moments, what I thought were my last moments, what I thought were my dying moments, I saw my wife clear as day. And they never have any conversations in The Walking Dead that are not significant. And something like that, where you just hear this guy saying that and you're like, what does that have to do with the story? They're just making conversation. It's very easy to just write it off and not think again about it at all. But coming back to when we see Abraham being choked and he's suffocating and he is feeling like he might die here. After everything ends and he's still laying there on the ground. So the guy, you know, Daryl knocked the guy off him and he's still there on the ground. And Daryl says, are you okay? And he goes, I'm more than okay. And he kind of smiles and he gets up off the ground and we see Rosita's necklace left behind. And that is just a foreshadowing that and a very subtle way of telling us that he's made his decision to pursue Sasha. In that moment of death, he saw Sasha, and they don't show us that, but that is how they're telling us. Now, if I'm making no sense right now, I explained it much better in my reaction video, so please just go watch that and then come back and you'll understand it, because I explained it far better there. Okay, back to the beginning. But throughout the whole episode, it's centered around Abraham, and he's going through this realization of who does he want to be with. If he's going to die today, who's the woman that is going to make him the happiest? Who is the woman that he should be with before he dies? You know what I mean? I mean, you have to think about that. Life is so precious in this apocalypse that you can't take any moment for granted. So why spend time with someone you don't truly care about when you could be with someone who you potentially love? And I feel horrible for Rosita. Being a comic book reader, this happened in the comics, so I should say comic spoilers in this video. I mean, this was a highly comic book episode brought to life, so pretty much everything that happened in this episode was in the comics. So I'm trying not to spoil it, but at the same time I feel like you're already spoiled because you watched the episode. So sorry, but yes, minor comic spoilers here. Now I lost my train of thought. So back to the beginning of the episode, we see Jesus. He's been very observant. Before he even came to Rick and Michonne, he counted how many people were in Alexandria, and Alexandria is a fairly big place here, and he counted 54 people. And you know, Maggie's like, not quite, because of the baby, but he counted all of the people. He saw their weapons, he saw their pantry, he made the rounds around Alexandria. Kind of creepy knowing that he snuck out and then was able to see everything and not be seen himself and then sneak into Rick and Michonne's house. I love Jesus. In the comics, he is one of my favorites. He's like my one of my top characters, and maybe even my favorite currently in the comics. So I love this about him. He is on top of it all the time. And there were a few moments in this episode where we see him standing with Maggie, and in the comics, you know, at a far later date, he is like her right-hand man. And so I love kind of this very initial seeing them side by side, or seeing him say something to her, because it really shows that they may go the way of the comics and have him really help her out, you know, a long time down the road here. But he's one of my favorite characters, so I'm so happy that I like him in the show as well. I loved it in the conversation when Maggie realizes that he says other settlements, not just Alexandria, and she's like, what? Kind of? She's like, other settlements? There's others? And I got so many chills at that point, because, you know, they've had their small group of, you know, our core members that have survived forever together, and then we have Alexandria, and it already felt like the world was getting bigger when they came to Alexandria, and now it's getting so much bigger because there's other settlements. There's the Hilltop where he came from, but then there's an additional one as well, which they haven't told us about yet in the TV show, but you know, there are others. And I think that realization of Maggie is just amazing. And I love the line where he says, your world's about to get a whole lot bigger. thought it was very interesting that Carl wanted to stay home. He didn't want to go. That's very unlike Carl. He does not like being left behind, and the fact that he actually wants to stay home is a very new and weird thing for Carl. I think it's just further progressing this and developing this new Carl that we're going to come to see. And he, you know, makes a comment where it's not going to make a good impression seeing a kid with like a missing eye. And I think he's very self-conscious of that fact at the moment, which would coincide with the comics as well. So in that moment where before Carl says he's staying home, Rick suggests that Gabriel will watch Judith while everyone's going to the Hilltop. And I thought that was really interesting. Why is Gabriel the go-to babysitter now? Forever, since they arrived at Alexandria, Carol has been Judith's babysitter. We always saw Carol in the house with Judith. She would be watching her on the baby monitor. She'd always be holding Judith. She was the one to take Judith to Jesse. And I thought it was very interesting that Gabriel was the go-to babysitter here, that there was no mention of Carol's whereabouts or why Carol couldn't babysit or anything like that. And I thought that's, you know, I like that Rick trusts Gabriel now. He proved himself when he, you know, took Judith to the church and protected her, but he's never watched Judith before. So, I mean, maybe in the last 2 months, yes, but I think something has happened between Carol and Rick that we don't know about in that 2-month time jump. Something to make him not choose her as the go-to babysitter. And we haven't seen Carol in these last episodes. Did we see her in episode 9? Yes, we did. I think. Did we? See, I can't even remember. Did we see her in episode 9 or 10? I know we didn't see her in episode 10. So where has she been? I think it's very weird that they're not showing her at all, especially because she's such a prominent main character here. I could understand if she was a background character like Olivia or, you know, Eric or something like that. But she's been a very main character in the forefront, so it's weird to me that she's in the back. I love the little subtle Rick and Michonne moments where he's driving the RV and he puts his hand on her knee and she kind of smiles at him. They're just so cute. I love it. I love this new relationship with them. It's so good for Rick. For those of you who, I've read some comments, I haven't had a chance to reply back to any comments yet, but Rick is 100% the safest character in The Walking Dead right now. 100%. She will not die by Negan and she will not die anytime soon. I can guarantee it. Choose to believe me or choose not to believe me, that's completely up to you. But I know from reading the comics and the fact that this whole second half of the season has been so close to the comics here that there is no way, there is absolutely no way she will die anytime soon. I can guarantee it. I'm saying it right now. But there's the little moments, and in the fight scene after Rick killed the guy, Ethan, was that his name? Up at the Hilltop, and the girl came over and punched him, and Michonne was like, oh, what did you just do to my man? And knocked her down. I loved that moment. I like seeing them so protective over each other too. So they get to the Hilltop. It's amazing. I got chills, like I said, when I saw it, because just that first image of them walking in was like a scene straight from a panel in the comics. And I loved seeing the blacksmith and seeing the chickens, and they have a doctor, and it's much different from the way Alexandria is running, and it's kind of how Rick would like to see Alexandria become. He wants to see them become sustainable and grow their own food and have chickens and have livestock and, you know, have a blacksmith and all of these very cool things that are happening here at the Hilltop that, you know, when our group walks in, they realize, like, we can't let this place go. We have to trade with them. We have to come to an agreement. So when Gregory initially talks down to Maggie and is like, you guys have nothing to offer us, Maggie knows that it's very, very important that they are not turned away, that they can come to some sort of an agreement to work with these people, because this is exactly how they want, I don't know if I'm saying that right, this is exactly how they would like Alexandria to be, obviously minus Negan taking half of all of their stuff and minus a sleazy douchebag leader named Gregory. He is so gross. I really like, I don't know what the actor's name is, but I like the way he's portraying Gregory. It's very much like the comics. He's just kind of this douchebag guy. He thinks he's so much better than anyone else. The fact that he made you know, he's like, it's hard to keep this place clean. I'm gonna need you guys to go clean yourselves up before you come and talk to me, because I'm so much better than you. And you guys are dirty and you don't have anything to offer us. And I really liked it. And he's definitely got like this jerk factor where you hate him immediately. So when Rick decided to have Maggie speak to Gregory instead of himself, I feel like this is just setting us up for more comic storylines here. And I'm going to talk about some comic spoilers for the future, so you guys may not want to watch this if you have not read the comics and are avoiding that. But there are so many clues here that are leading to Glenn being the one to be killed by Negan in the season finale. Every episode that I watch, it just confirms it even more. And it's so unusual for The Walking Dead to have a death be exactly the same as it was in the comics. I mean, I don't even think it's happened so far. They usually twist them up, have someone else take this particular death. I honestly don't think anyone has ever died the exact same way they did in the comics. So there's been this wide theory, is it Daryl or is it Glenn? And I think a lot of people, you know, is a huge number of viewers who do not like Daryl, that he's, you know, doesn't add anything to the story, and, you know, he's just like there for, you know, to bring in the ratings and all of that. I'm not even gonna get into that because I think it's bullshit, but I don't want to argue with anyone on that. I like Daryl, I like his character. I also like Norman Reedus's acting. I think he's a great role in the TV show. But I think a lot of people are rooting for his death because it would affect the viewers, you know? But we have to think, how is this particular death going to affect the story? If Daryl died, there's no like widespread story arcs here that they've been developing or anything that will affect the rest of the group and the story down the line. It would be a wow factor, it would be a shock, you know, it would outrage a lot of viewers, but it's not really affecting or furthering the storyline to have him die at that point. But we see they're consistently setting up Maggie and Glenn's relationship here. And in this moment where Rick has Maggie speak to Gregory instead of himself, this is setting her up to eventually become the leader of the Hilltop. And she's been taught by Deanna, you know, and been mentored by Deanna. And this moment when she speaks to Gregory and then Gregory only wants to speak to her from then on, it's just furthering, she will eventually become the leader of the Hilltop. Now this is way down the line. Multiple things have to happen first. But one of the biggest things is Glenn's death, to push her to be at the Hilltop, to push her to lead there, to I don't want to spoil anything or unnecessarily anymore, but there's that moment. There's also the moment where she says, after they decide to take on Negan, she says to Rick, "This will cost us." And it's just, again, it's foreshadowing his death. It will cost them. It'll cost her something really big. And the fact that they're building up this baby between them, I mean, it's just, I don't know how it can be any more clear that he'll be the one to die. If he's not, I think that the writers will have made a huge mistake, and it won't make sense. It would be kind of frustrating. I don't want Glenn to die, to be totally honest with you. I don't. I really love him. You guys saw when I thought he died in Thank You episode, I freaked out. Like, it would be awful. I'm not saying I want Glenn to die, but I'm saying if I had to choose between the two, if Glenn dies, it completely furthers the story many times over. Anyways, this video is getting really long, so I'm gonna move on. Can you tell I'm getting all red because I'm getting passionate about this comic story and the TV show? Okay, where was I? I will say that when Jesus is telling Rick and his group about Negan for the first time, when he says right off the bat, Negan killed someone, right off the bat, they're just like, they don't tell us how. They said he beat him to death. The young boy beat him to death, but he doesn't say how. And then he says right off the bat, he said right off the bat he needed to show us what would happen. And that kind of just foreshadows just how awful Negan really is. And also right off the bat foreshadows it as well. But I really liked how Daryl stepped up there, and he was the one to say, you give us stuff. We want a cow. We want whatever he said, we want food, we want medicine, and we'll take care of Negan for you. I mean, he was so like, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And then Rick after that agrees with him. I can't remember what he said, but is like, yeah, you know. But I really liked seeing Daryl take that leadership role. And then Maggie, of course, says this will cost us. And then, you know, they're driving back to Alexandria, and they're passing around this picture of the baby. And it's just such a calm, loving moment, and you just feel so happy because everyone's, oh, there's a baby and they have something to fight for now, and there's a reason that they need to get the food from the Hilltop and work with the Hilltop because they have this new life coming and there's this new world opening up, and everything just ends on such a good note, and our group is so confident that they can beat Negan. And it's just, us comic fans know just how wrong Rick and his group really are. And it's unfortunate for me, like, having read the comics, because I feel like I would really be into these episodes even more if I didn't know what was coming. I'm always a little sad when something big happens in the TV show and I already know kind of it's gonna happen because of the comics. It's always a little disappointing, but it's crazy to think that this episode just opened this door for this all-out war to happen, and a major death coming at the end of this season, and then many more things happening beyond that. And it's crazy to think that we're finally here, you know. In watching the show and then having read the comics always seemed so far ahead of the television show, and to see it finally catching up to these like crazy storylines is like, it's so nerve-wracking, you guys. Okay, that's it for my review. All in all, this was a really good episode. I loved the comic book scenes brought to life. It wasn't one of my favorite episodes, but I love that Hilltop scene, that moment where they walked in, and it really reminded me of the festival, what were they calling it, the fair that they had way far down the line after all of this story is over, and they had the fair and the market, you know. And when I first saw the Hilltop, when you see the blacksmith and everything, it was just so, and I know it didn't take place at the Hilltop, the fair, but it just reminded me of that and amped it up because I love seeing like the farm stuff, and it reminded me of Herschel and the prison where they had all this good stuff happening. And oh, you guys, I love The Walking Dead. Okay, I'm gonna end this review now. So sorry if it's too long. I hope you guys like it. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode in the comments below. Let me know if I missed anything. I've only seen the episode one time so far. This week, we're gonna also do a dead ahead video for predictions for episode 12. I haven't even really paid attention to the promos yet for that, so no predictions yet, but I will be doing that this week. And I also am really gonna try hard to do a Fear the Walking Dead season 2 predictions video, an updated one, because I just did a dead ahead video for it, well, I want to say like last week. But there was another new 20-second promo, and believe it or not, 20 seconds, they can actually show you quite a bit. And there were like maybe 3 or 4 new scenes there, and it's just gonna be a quick video just updating you guys on that. And yeah, sorry this review is getting up so late. It's been very hard trying to figure this out while working. I even before, when I had a job, I wasn't working on Mondays, so Mondays have always been my filming day, so having to work all day and then rush and come home and make dinner and do stuff has been like really stressful. Okay, I'm rambling. I love you guys. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye.